He's closed the gap to 9 points, but he's annoyed Bell a little bit, who's come back. But Campbell has picked up a couple of points. I don't think, despite all this aggression and little surge of energy, that it's going to be enough to close the gap. Bell just has to keep himself out of trouble. Well, Campbell's lack of stature and reach, very apparent. He was about, well, half a foot short with that punch. Bell bouncing now. Doesn't need to get careless. He's holding that left hand of his rather ominously low. But Campbell can't get close enough to exploit that weakness. Settled down a little bit. Oh, lovely footwork from Bell. Picked his man off on the counter. 10 points the gap once again. 30 seconds to go to the end. Campbell has a little glance at his corner. There's nothing they can do. As soon as that bell goes, I'm afraid, my old son, you're on your own. Yeah, Campbell knows he's not won this one, and I think he probably knew it from about the second round. Did well to beat the Scot, or the Welshman, I should say, Jamie Evans. That was blocked by Campbell. And the little Irishman pouring everything into it, and there's a nice little gesture, a pat on the top of the head. He didn't even have to, well, really stretch to do that, and well done by the... This was always going to be a very close contest, this lightweight 60-kilogram final, and that's exactly how it's panned out. Noel Monteith in blue, the reigning Irish champion, against, in red, Tony McPeak from Scotland, the reigning Scottish champion, and a single point separates them. Left hand came through from the Irishman. That's another one from Monteith. This is a good start. Having conceded a couple of points at the end of the last round, Monteith has decided to come back into this, and he's picked up two very good shots. And there's a little bit of blood coming from the nose of the Scot, and that's courtesy of some hard, accurate punching by the man from Belfast. So McPeak, who boxes out of the Forgewood Club in Motherwell, he lives in Shotts in Lanarkshire, which is not too far away, has got a rather bloody nose, courtesy of Noel Monteith, and Monteith's hard, accurate punching have made the difference. 3 points now between them. Good right hand by McPeak. Close the gap to 2. Oh, an awful lot of blood coming from the nose of Tony McPeak. He does have a rather suspect nose. He got stopped because of that in his opening contest in the Commonwealth Games, but he's bouncing straight back, but Monteith has got him again. Good footwork by the Irishman, trying to get the left hand over after that southpaw lead of his, and again McPeak comes straight back. Monteith 3 up, McPeak not too far away. And again the Scot closes the gap to 2. As long as he keeps in touch, he's got every chance of taking this in the 4th and final round. The referee, I think, will have another look at that.
No, it's pretty bad at the moment. Leave the doctor have a look at it.
I think he may well ask the doctor to come in and have a look at it. No, it's just blood coming from the nose. It's not anywhere near the eye, so it shouldn't really be contest threatening. But, well, the amateurs seem to have their own views about bloody noses. You probably get worse in the playground scrap. But the doctor says box. Well, that's good to hear. So, bloody nose or no bloody nose, back comes Tony McPeak, walks straight into a left hand from the man in blue, the Belfast Ulster and Irishman, Noel Monteith. McPeak is dropping that right hand of his, and that's really causing him some problems defensively. He could do with a point or two just to give himself a decent chance in this last round, and Monteith can't afford to give anything away. But 2 points is not that conclusive. Don't push to McPeak from the referee. What a good contest this is. Good finish by McPeak, and he pulled one back, and what a final 2 minutes we're going to have. It was a great start to the round by Noel Monteith, the Irish champion, and he put in some very, very hard punches. Well, that's the first even round, and that's just about fair enough. McPeak had to come back, having taken 1 or 2 very hard shots, and did remarkably well to do just that. There was a solid left hand, and McPeak took it flush on the nose, and that's what caused him all his problems. But to be fair to him, he came straight back. Monteith looking for the opening, little feint, and then the left hand right through, and good defensive work by McPeak, who could have conceded even more points at that stage. Little right hand from the Irishman, and McPeak having to come back and took another left for his pains.
Back.
Well, 2 minutes to decide which of these lightweights will be the inaugural 60-kilogram Four Nations champion. Noel Monteith, the Irishman in blue, just a single point up against the Scottish Commonwealth Games representative in Kuala Lumpur a couple of years ago. Well, I heard a Belfast voice using the old adage, be first, and that's exactly what he has to do, and that's exactly what he's done. 11-9 now to Monteith. Monteith up on his toes, McPeak flat-footed, still some blood coming from that nose of his. If Monteith can hold on, this would be a considerable victory for the Irishman. The Irish corner being a wee bit too noisy. If they are very noisy, then they may ask to leave the immediate environs of the ring, but that hasn't happened so far. Less than a minute to go. McPeak needs a bit of a flurry to try to close the gap. Monteith hanging on, and he's now opened it up to 3, and that may well be the end of it unless McPeak produces a really big finish. He's pulled it back to 1 single shot, or to 2 single shots, I should say. Monteith can't afford to get desperate because McPeak has a longer reach and might just pick him off. Less than 30 to go. This has been a real bruiser right from the start. 20 seconds. Monteith stepping in and not allowing McPeak to do any decent work, and that's what he has to do, and he's opened up the gap now to 4 points. Watch the shoulder, but it's not going to matter. Monteith trying that left hand again that caused McPeak all the problems in the third. And Noel Monteith from the Dockers Club in Belfast, the Ulster and Irish senior champion, has done more than enough in that last round to win this Four Nations title at lightweight. Yeah, his best round, won up by 3 clear points. Monteith the first, McPeak the second, the third was even, and Monteith the last and conclusion. Good defense by Anderson. 6 points up now, and Smith has got to really find something special. Good countering by the Scot. Moves his head nicely, keeps it out of the way. The last thing you want to do in this game is to keep your head in the one position, and too many boxers do that, especially when they've got too many miles on the clock. Not too many miles on this clock of Kevin Anderson. 11-4. Smith the longer reach. Anderson making light of it. Once again, Smith missing. The accuracy has gone out of his shots. Don't push from Irish referee Pat McCrory. Midway through this third round, and it really is going to be a tough old task now for Gavin Smith. He needs to score. The second round, which was won 5-0 by Anderson, was very, very conclusive. Right hand again by the Scot. 8-pounder, another one. Smith is coming in and he's letting his left hand drop away. Well, they maybe felt that one wasn't delivered properly. That one certainly was. There's a couple of right hands went in there. Well, that scored 9 the difference now, and Smith, the English champion, is being outboxed and outpunched. Another right hand, and this time it's going to be a standing 8 count. Well, you always got the feeling that was coming.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Gum shield has come out, and at all times boxers must be fully equipped in terms of head guard and cup protector, and of course the gum shield, and that will give Gavin Smith a little bit of respite. Kevin Travis will give that a good rinse out and have a glance at him and say, come on, son, you can do this. But I'm not sure that he can. Well, he didn't get a chance to concede anything more, or indeed, to be fair to Gavin Smith, pick up anything more. But two very, very torrid rounds. And he's gone through 2 rounds, and if my sums are right, he hasn't managed to land a scoring shot in 4 minutes of boxing. And this little fella really is the business. 5, 5 and 5. Come on, Rob Crawford, you should smile at him and encourage him a wee bit more.
You need this fight. You need to score what you want to do. How you want to have him there. Whatever you want to do, wash your head, Laurie. Whatever you want to do there. But you must stay beside him. Stand on his stage. Stand on his stage, sir.
Well, I tell you, I wouldn't disagree with what Rob Crawford said, or indeed is still saying.
He's going to hear him out of fight. Come on, you. Come on, you need to do something at a place when you're here. Come on, you. This is the last thing. Stay beside him.
Just watch the blood pressure, Rob. This fella's going to do it okay, I'm quite sure.
Box.
Well, 3 pretty sensational rounds, especially 2 and 3 from Kevin Anderson in red, the teenage sensation from Scotland. Good shot by Smith. He needed that one, even to give him a little bit of confidence. But it's Anderson who's picked it up, and he's opened the gap now to 12, and that's another one. Well, if Smith concedes and 1 more point, he is going to be stopped because of what they call the mercy ruling, 15 points, and that's 15. The computer, well, has raced ahead of itself, and while Anderson may not have picked up shots, he certainly has picked them up here. Now, they may well decide to let this go, but there's a 15-point gap, and I'm expecting to hear a bell or a whistle to signify that the contest is over. There's now 16 points between them. Watch the head to both of them. So they obviously want to let this go. They've decided that Gavin Smith is not under any real pressure, and maybe it doesn't apply in the final. Who knows? But 16 points the difference, and this is really another terrific performance. That's 5 points per round for the Scotsman, Kevin Anderson, and still a little bit to go. And there's 17 points between them now. Smith trying to do his very best, but he really is being outthought and, more pertinently, outpunched. That right hand of Anderson's really has got a Scottish hammer in it, hasn't it? Well, 18 points now the gap. And Smith is just really going on remote. He's managed to pick up a point. Well, that's the first point that Gavin Smith has scored since the very first round, and he acknowledges that he's been beaten by a smaller, younger, but much, much better man. And Kevin Anderson, remember that name. And how are they going to keep him in the amateur ranks up in Scotland? They'll certainly try. They'll find the money from somewhere, because this kid is a bit special. Final, the 67-kilogram division. Not a single point between them. Not a point for James Moore of Ireland in blue, from Arklow and County Wicklow, Irish champion. And he's some 8 years younger than his 31-year-old opponent, Tony Cisse, the 1999 ABA champion, deputising for the reigning champion, Matt Macklin. Cisse got the first point. That certainly is, if nothing else, has broken the deadlock. But you can see they're being very wary of each other. And Moore is finding it difficult to get inside the guard and the defence of the very canny Englishman. That was a slip. Referee John Cunningham will not allow boxing to continue unless the man who had slipped down wipes his gloves. Good left hand by the Englishman. Moore responds very quickly, but there's a lot of wildness about his punching, and against a man who's as good defensively as Cisse, he's going to find it hard enough. Well, he managed to get 1 shot there, and now 2. Cisse had the gloves up fairly tightly against his face. Good left from the Englishman. That's a very good shot by Cisse. And Moore comes back immediately. This is warmed up very nicely. after a pretty indifferent opening 2 minutes, in which not a decent shot was landed or point scored. The pace is picked up right that time from Cisse. Right to the body from him. Seen too much in the way of body shots. Good right hand by Moore on the retreat. Oh, he's got caught. What a left hand. That is definitely going to be an 8 count. On the computer scoring, it only counts as 1 shot. But Cisse, we were just getting the feeling that he was just keeping that left hand in reserve. He'd hardly used it at all, and what a connection he made. And that's going to take the wind out of the sails of James Moore. And a nice little touch of hands there. But the 31-year-old, well, there's an expression in Ireland which says the old dog for the hard road, and it is a hard road. And the old fella just produced a very good shot right at the end of that round. What a cracker that was. Well, nothing scored in the first round. 8 points in the second. 5 to this man, 3 to his opponent. Well, Moore had to come off the ropes in the middle of the round, and there was that left hand. Moore flailing a little bit, left himself open, and Tony Cisse punished him in no uncertain fashion. Absolutely spot on. Great shot. So will it be Ireland or will it be England? Not a single point separates them. 6 points apiece. One moment of high drama was when James Moore found himself on the seat of his pants at the end of the second round, courtesy of a well-delivered right hand from Tony Cisse. Pulling down a little bit.
Corner.
Good work by the referee, John Cunningham, just saying to the English corner, be quiet, and their man has gone ahead. This would be a remarkable performance by the oldest man in the competition if he could win it, but the man in blue, the Irishman James Moore, has got him with the right hand. Got him with the right hand. Cisse not hurt by that at all, a little bit staggered, and that has put Moore 2 points up, because that standing 8 count only means 1 scoring point on the computer system. But how much confidence now will that have given James Moore? So Cisse has got it all to do in this last minute. That's the second little caution to Moore for holding. The veteran needs a couple of good shots, and he's got to keep his composure. There's still time. He can't afford to go wild, however, as Moore is not bad on the counter. Moore nearly got through again. Glancing right hand, but time is ticking away now. And having dominated the contest most of the way through, the Englishman is in danger of losing it. He needs to pick up 3 points or 2 to force a count back. We haven't seen a count back so far. Good accurate jab by the Irishman. English corner being very noisy indeed. And Moore has put in a very good last round. The left hand threatening to come across from Tony Cisse, but it's too late. Or is it? There it goes again. That may well be a single point for him. This is going to be very close. And if it does go to 10 apiece, it'll go on superior work rate on the count back. And Moore has just nicked it. Well, he'll be very disappointed. He came in as probably number 3 or perhaps even number 4 in England. And he ran the Irish number 1 very close indeed. Look at that scoreline. Well, Courtney Fry made it through to the Sydney Olympics. Alan Reynolds tried twice through qualifiers, 1 in Germany and 1 in Venice, and didn't make it. Fry made it for the very last European place, a somewhat iniquitous system that gives Europe now, because of the breakup of the old USSR, perhaps the strongest contingent in boxing, and yet only 8 and sometimes 9 places were available. Open part of the glove by Fry, but he's scored now 2-1 up. Lively start to the second round, in and out by the 3 times English champion. Better performance this by Fry, and he's opened up a 3-point gap against this tough Irishman. And it's the skill of Fry and the swiftness of the punch that's easing him ahead. He needed a big second round. Good right hand came across and just clipped the chin of Reynolds, but not enough, I have a feeling, to impress the judges. Reynolds, well, really bullied and battered his way into this final against the inexperienced Welshman Michael Allen. But all the experience of Courtney Fry and the experience that he brings to this contest is proving too much. And Fry is boxing well. Reynolds comes back. Two right hands by Fry, clubbing over the top. That's a good left by him, and that was the shot that scored. The right hand's inconclusive, nothing wrong with the left. And look at Fry, 10-1, opened up a gap of 9 points, and this is Courtney Fry at his very best. Outpointed Pinewood's Sam Price this year to take the English title for the third time. And he's kept a little bit in reserve for this contest. What a great second round. What a terrific 2 minutes from Courtney Fry. And this is the sort of performance that won him Commonwealth gold and very nearly European gold. Well, look at that. One apiece, and then all of a sudden Fry just opened up and soared away in that second round. 10-2 at the halfway point in this light heavyweight final. And still he stands and still he listens. Fast hands, left followed by the right, and the left again. Lovely combination, and at least 3 of that 4-punch combination I'm sure will have scored, and there was absolutely nothing Reynolds could do about that. Well, 2 minutes to go, and it's going to be a tough 2 minutes for Alan Reynolds. All Fry has to do is stay out of trouble, but that's not in his nature. Good short, crisp right hand by the 3 times English champion, and Reynolds will have to throw everything into this, and I'm sure that's exactly what he's going to do, because that's what he does best. And Fry's got to be careful, use the footwork, use the skill, moving nicely to the body to try to pull down the guard of the Irishman. Reynolds took those shots on his forearms and elbows. Great excitement here. Courtney Fry, remember now boxing out of the Salisbury Club here in Liverpool, having boxed out of Repton and then Islington before that. Asked what his hometown is, he now says London and Liverpool. A minute to go, and Fry's going to win this. He got a silver in the European Championships 3 years ago when he was beaten by the remarkable Russian Alexander Lebsiak, who for my money was the outstanding boxer in the Sydney Olympics last year. Added the Olympic to his world light heavyweight title. But Fry is a matter of 30 seconds away from adding the Four Nations title to his Commonwealth gold, his European silver, and his 3 English ABA titles. And he's really piling it on, and Reynolds now seriously under pressure. This has been a great finish by Fry. The second round was so impressive. He came back well at the end of the third, and he's come back here at the end of the fourth and last round just to emphasize his boxing skills. And Reynolds, towering by the second, can do nothing about it, and Fry is coasting home to the gold here in Liverpool. Great finish by Fry. Reynolds exhausted, Fry exuberant. A job very well done. A brisk opening round. Good uppercut went in there by Dolan. Reynolds leading by 5 points to 4 now at the start of this second round. There was a good right hand by the Irishman, who really can hit pretty hard, but Dolan has done well to come off the ropes. He conceded a point there. Reynolds now, well, just a single point up. Dolan keeps coming back, and he's keeping in touch. Reynolds quite happy to concede a point or 2 to pick them up, and he comes barreling forward. He's conceding 3 or 4 inches in height and a fair old bit in reach, but that doesn't bother him at all. Reynolds had 2 bites at trying to qualify for the Sydney Olympics and failed on both occasions. Lost here in Liverpool a year ago. Lost to a very good Czech boxer. 2 points the difference. Solid looking, round the corner, left hand from the Irishman, and has picked up another point, and significantly he's now 3 ahead with 30 seconds of this round remaining, and Reynolds just walked through everything Dolan has, and he's got to get out of the way of the Irishman, and he's finding that difficult now. But still he's there, trying that uppercut again. Good defense by Reynolds. Kept the chin well down and tucked up, and a nice right hand by him. Lovely variation by the Irishman, body and then head. Dolan under a wee bit of pressure and has to make the long walk across the ring to his corner. This is a very good heavyweight final. Well, there he is, David John Dolan, just 21 years old. Boxes out of the Plains Farm Club in Sunderland, his hometown. Stopped Patrick Lewis from Taunton in this year's ABA finals. Good footwork by Reynolds, and that was probably the best shot of the contest, and Dolan, I should say, took it well and then had to take another one. Delivered with equal ferocity. Good footwork on the counter, and what a nice piece of boxing to recover from 2 very hard right-hand shots. It's still there for him if he can pick up the pace and keep himself out of trouble. But Stephen Reynolds is not going to be denied. 3 up is Reynolds. Good right hand from the Irish champion. Dolan has pulled one back, and he's got a right hand in himself. And another one. So just the start that the Englishman wanted. Nothing between them at all. This was always going to be a very close contest. Lovely skills now coming from Dolan, and that's going to be the decisive factor. Got himself caught, let the left hand go down, and Reynolds landed. Now that didn't score. Yes, it did. Oh, good right hand once again from Reynolds, and that's another one. Dolan has got to watch that defense, and to his great credit, he comes back. What a great chin he has. And right of Reynolds falling short. Dolan 3 adrift, so it's still there for him into the 2nd minute of the penultimate round. What a hard man this Reynolds fellow is. Short and chunky, very heavy in the thigh. Will probably find it difficult, not that he has any intention of turning professional as a heavyweight professional. That was a good right hand. That's the first 8 count. Well, Dolan had to survive a very difficult time to beat the world and Commonwealth bronze medalist Kevin Evans from Wales. And Reynolds is proving very tough. There's now 4 points between them. A little bit of blood coming from the nose, but not very much of Stephen Reynolds. But he's 5 points up, and he's really starting to bully the younger Englishman. Good footwork by Dolan, and he's pulled it back. What a great round that was. Ebbing and flowing, and Dolan, just when he looked to be on his way out, came back remarkably and picked up 2 very, very valuable points. Well, they'll be more than pleased with him in the English corner, especially for his resilience and courage and considerable skill, and he actually won that round. So all to box for in the final 2 minutes in this 91 kilogram division. This is the face of a really hard warrior. Good right and left from the Irishman. And Dolan looked to be in trouble, and what a terrific uppercut he put in. He takes shots and then he comes straight back. Well, as the referee was saying, be quiet to the Irish corner, there was nothing quiet about the action. Dolan once again getting in with that uppercut. But look at Reynolds standing 4 square and walking through the Englishman's punches, and that was another terrific right hand. Well, this, as they say, is going to go to the wire. It's certainly going to go to the final bell. And Stephen Reynolds just one single point ahead, and there's every chance that David Dolan could win this contest. He's now 2 adrift, however. He's got to start landing with punches. The right hand of Reynolds has been very conclusive. Good footwork once again by the younger Englishman. Right hand over the top by the Irishman. A point between them. Isn't this terrific? 2 big, strong men giving it 100%. Once again, the right by Reynolds. 3 points the gap. Dolan has to pick it up. Right hand and a left. One of them scored. Reynolds comes straight back. Well, the crowd threatening to get on their feet. This is wonderful. Right from the Irishman. 3 points between them. 1 minute to go. 4 points now. Dolan has an awful lot to do. The sheer strength and tenacity of Reynolds and some great right hand punching, the difference. Lovely left hook from Dolan. He's pulled it back. Well, I thought he should have got that one. Reynolds has picked one up. 30 seconds to go. 4 points ahead for Ireland. Still the 4 point gap. There may not be time for David Dolan. And Reynolds Sr., the older of the 2, battling Reynolds brothers from the St. Joseph's Club in Sligo in the west of Ireland, is going to hang on. So much was taken out of Dolan by a wonderful semi-final performance against the Welshman Kevin Evans. Reynolds gets him with another good shot. That 4 point gap has maintained. It's now stretched to 5. They're exhausted. Dolan is exhausted and winks as if to say, where did you come from? Do they breed them like this all through Sligo? And Mercedes Taff, I think, will be thoroughly delighted with the older of the Reynolds boys. So a cautious start by the Scottish champion, Nicky Benini in red, the 18-year-old from Howick. Won the Scottish title by defeating James McPherson by 19 points to 5, and was particularly impressive, but he hasn't really come to terms with the strong punching of Langley, who's coming in and is throwing many more punches. Benini content just to throw single shots, and he's not really following up the advantage of that longer left lead of his. 3 points between them. Benini's pulled one back. Oh, lovely right hand from Langley. Absolute gem, the best shot of the contest so far. England 8-4 up, and Langley boxing quite beautifully. Better footwork by the Scot, moving away from the onrushing Langley. Very wary of that right hand of the Englishman. Into the second minute of this second round, and it's looking comfortable at this stage for Darren Langley. Lost in 2 successive ABA semi-finals last year by the eventual champion, James Mulhern from Coventry. It was 3 apiece, and Mulhern won it on a 32-25 countback. And Langley suffered a similar fate this year, lost to another eventual champion, Craig Lyon. Higher scoring round this one, but it's still Langley who's making the difference. Wonderful hook by him into the body, and then come right over the top of the right hand of the Scot. And Langley has opened up now a pretty impressive looking 6 point gap. Great strength and depth, needless to say, in English boxing as compared with Scottish. And once again, Langley picks his man off, and that was another good shot. Takes a wee bit of time to register, but a very, very impressive second round to add to an equally impressive first by Darren Langley. So pressure at this stage on the man across the ring from him, Nicky Benini. Higher scoring round, 10 points, but it was Langley who picked up a lot more, and he stretched that lead from 4 points at the end of the first to 6 at the end of the second. So the halfway stage, Benini has an awful lot to do. Hasn't really been able to use that advantage of his in terms of height and reach. Wonderful right hand came across. Benini did not get the left hand quickly enough, and there's a lovely variation. some more good work in that second round, and this is a very lively 48 kilogram contest. Good defense by Langley, and there's that wonderful right cross again. This has been a very good light flyweight contest, the 48 kilogram division, but it's been dominated by the little fellow in blue. Darren Langley from the Hollington Amateur Boxing Club, comes from Croydon. This is his 50th contest, and he's won 37 so far and lost 12. Boxing is his great passion, but another great passion is football, and he's a season ticket holder at Wimbledon. Benini from the border town of Hawick in Scotland, one would suspect would be a rugby fan. Better work by Benini. 12 points between them, so Langley only 3 points away if he doesn't concede any more and can pick up those 3, ending this contest. Lovely little uppercut from him.
Stop! Stop!
Well, that's the first time that the Welsh referee, John Waite, has had to say anything other than a break. 3 commands in amateur boxing: stop, break and box. Everything else done by signals. It's all left hand from Benini, and the right has not been effective at all. He's picked up another point. Oh, wonderful combination by Langley. Good left in reply by the Scot. Busy finish, 30 seconds to go. 12 points between them. Langley has dominated right from the first bell and is going to be a very worthy first champion in the very first Four Nations amateur tournament. Failed twice to become the ABA champion, last year and this year, going out in the semi-finals, and Darren Langley has put in a real tour de force here in Liverpool to defeat the Scots champion. And that is another very good round. Benini did his best, but Langley was the man all the way through. Terrific performance by Darren Langley.
Excellent.
Thank you to the referee, thank you to the much taller opponent. Every single round was won, and 22 points to 9, the final total. And away we go. Now, what a test this is going to be for young Matthew Marsh. The reigning ABA champion defeated Owen Traynor from Manchester in the final, but he's up against a hugely experienced man, one of the most experienced men in this entire competition, Liam Cunningham, who lost in the final of the Commonwealth Games in Kuala Lumpur in 1998 to the very experienced Richard Sunni of Mauritius. Cunningham has been 4 times the champion of Ulster, his province, and 4 times the champion of his country, Ireland. But Matthew Marsh is one of a crop of very good English youngsters coming through. The target, well, immediately the World Championships in Cunningham's hometown of Belfast in June, and beyond that, Manchester 2002 for the Commonwealths. Cunningham determined to stay on and go one better than he did in Kuala Lumpur. 2-0 up to the Irishman. Good defense by Cunningham. Marsh has pulled one back. Nice movement by the English teenager, moving beautifully from the waist and keeping himself out of trouble, and trying to pick up a point, and he's done that with that left hand. There's a good right, came over the top, and that mightn't have been too far away from scoring. Remember, the system is that there are 5 judges at ringside, and they've got to decide that a punch has been delivered with the knuckle part of the glove on the target area, which is the head and torso, and Marsh has done that. Cunningham came through 12-1 impressively against James Wasigala from Wales, which was the lowest score conceded. He only conceded 1 point in 4 rounds. Cunningham's pulled it back to level pegging at the end of the round, and Cunningham, I think, despite his experience, realizes that he's in with a very good youngster. What a good first round that was. Well, Michael Marsh, I think, will be pretty pleased with the opening 2 minutes in this final. 3 apiece. England senior coach Ian Irwin just leaning over,
tight guard,
doing a little bit of whispering.
Moving. Keep him on his back foot.
Familiar tones of
Don't let him get set.
Ian Irwin just saying, do the right thing. Liam Cunningham in his own corner, not bothering with the stool, getting a fair bit of advice as well. Good little combination by Marsh, that left and then right hand over the top, picked up a couple of very good points, and that was the one that momentarily put him in the lead. So they're level as they were at the start of this contest, but it's 3 points apiece. I think Cunningham will try to up the pace a little bit. And what a lively start to this second round. Cunningham, a good left went in. But it's Marsh who's picked up the opening points, and the youngster is taking it to the Commonwealth Games silver medalist, and he's opened up a 2-point gap. Cunningham, loads more experience, boxed in the World Championships in Houston in 1999. Went out in the first series to a good Romanian, Cucerano. But he's 3 points down to the English teenager. And what a scalp this would be for Matthew Marsh. In the quarterfinals of the ABA Seniors in England this year, Marsh defeated the 2000 light flyweight champion James Mulhern from the Coventry, from the Triumph Club. That was a fair indication just how good he is. Midway through this second round.
Stop! Stop!
Ken Gray from Wales.
Box!
Has a little word with Cunningham, and Marsh is straight back into it. So no respect given whatsoever for the experience and achievements of the older man.
You are wrestling, don't do it. You are wrestling, don't do it. Corner, please.
Don't wrestle from the referee.
Doctor, please. Over there.
Now there seems to be a cut because Marsh has been told to go into a neutral corner, and the doctor has come in. There's a little nick, I think, on the cheekbone of Cunningham. Well, the doctor's had a good look, and he's decided that Liam Cunningham can't continue, and this is going to be a matter now for the judges, because they've got to decide whether or not they're going to award it to Marsh because of the stoppage. But it's more than likely that they're going to award it to Marsh, because at this point, when the contest has now been stopped, it looks as if Marsh is going to be in the lead in terms of computer scoring. But that's a matter for the judges. Well, he probably didn't want to win the title on a cut, but certainly his pressure and aggression against the much more experienced man, and that was that right hand, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the shot that cut the cheek of Liam Cunningham.
Marsh of England in the red corner.
It did indeed go to a points decision because it was a final. They have decided to go to points, but Marsh, having stopped his man because of a cut, and he was 3-2 up, and it couldn't have been close. It's 2 to Wales, 1 to Ireland. Darren Edwards at 20. And the 26-year-old Damien McKenna, the Irish champion, has pulled one back. McKenna trying to dominate the center of the ring. Edwards, as he did in the first round, moving all the time and picking his man off with that very long southpaw lead of his. McKenna's got to get inside, and he's done just that. Greater experience coming through. Good defense by McKenna, but Edwards has picked up a point. Little trickle of blood coming from the nose, I think, of Darren Edwards.
Blue, keep your head out of it.
Keith Brooking just calling upon them to break. Good fast hands by the young Welshman. McKenna has to come back in, body and head from the Irishman. For the second year in a row, Damien McKenna's here in Liverpool. Last year, in the qualifier for the Olympic Games, he lost to the eventual gold medal winner in the tournament, Sergei Danilchenko, a real hard man from the Ukraine. And he's maybe not finding Darren Edwards just as hard, but he's finding him very elusive, and this is good boxing by the taller, younger Welshman. Edwards still ahead by 2 single points, 30 seconds to go to the end of the second. Watch the head from referee Keith Brooking. A little caution. Oh, good left hook from McKenna. Perhaps the judges thought he delivered that with the open part of the glove. It's got to be delivered by the knuckle part of the glove, which is conveniently in both red and blue gloves, picked out in white. And they did decide, after some deliberation, the old electronics maybe not as rapid as they might be, So McKenna has got to keep in touch at the halfway stage, and he's a point behind, and will need all that experience in the last 4 minutes. Oh, lovely countering by Edwards. Right, and then a solid-looking left, and that must have picked up a shot, and it certainly did. And what a good finish by the 20-year-old Welshman right at the end of that round. Terrific finish by Darren Edwards. McKenna trying to keep those hands up. And great accurate punching by Edwards, just snaking through the Irishman's guard. Swept the hands away, came right across with the left. That was a lovely, lovely punch. McKenna letting the guard slip just momentarily. Nice crisp right hand from this tall, elegant young southpaw from Wales. 6'4" to him. McKenna shorter and stockier. Still commanding the center of the ring, but he's allowing Edwards to dictate both the pace and the direction of this contest. Good footwork by Edwards. Still trying to tee his man up for that left hand, and McKenna finding it hard to get inside, coping with the twin problems of the southpaw style and the sheer reach of the Welshman, who's picked up another point. McKenna won't want to let this drift away from him, to give himself too much to do in the last round. Edwards took the not inconsiderable scalp of Stephen Foster, the 2000 and 2001 English ABA champion, in the semi-final. 12-8 he beat the son of the former IBF light middleweight champion Steve the Viking Foster, and he's really turning it on here against McKenna. McKenna beat the Scot John Davidson 8-3, but didn't look desperately impressive. Lovely short right hand by the Welshman. And Edwards really is making a contest of this. And McKenna is finding it difficult to catch up with the Welshman, who has found that little extra gear. Good round this by Edwards, his best round so far. Desperate times now for McKenna. A gap of 5 computer points, and he has it all to do. Not getting inside, hitting with the open part of the glove when he does. Wonderful footwork by Edwards. Sweet, sweet boxing. Well, McKenna is going to have to find an awful lot in the last 2 minutes, and when he thinks he has Edwards where he wants him, the Welshman is gone. Great round for Edwards. Great round for the Welshman. Very, very, very good performance in that last couple of minutes. Well, he's hardly even breathing at all. Nice little spray. I do something like that in the greenhouse with the flowers. But what a very good round that was. And he's gone from 2 points in the first, 4 in the second, 6 in the third, and he's leading 12-5. And I don't think even somebody as experienced as Damien McKenna is going to be able to claw back 7 points in the last 2 minutes. Well, what can he do? He must surely know that he's up against it. Did his best. Good body shot by McKenna, but immediately Edwards responded with a crisp little short right hand. Well, just keep up the work, I think, is the message from the Welsh corner. So McKenna has got to throw everything up to and including the kitchen sink into this last round if he's not going to go down to the 20-year-old tall, spindly, elegant, clever Welshman. Great footwork by Edwards. McKenna not just doing enough, and he's finding it so hard to get inside.
Stop! Stop!
Don't duck down to Edwards. Edwards now trying to stay out of trouble. He could afford to get caught a couple of times and lose a point or two, but he's still got the winning of this. Again, the slap from McKenna. That left hand of his has looked on a couple of occasions as if it might pick up a point or two, but it's been, well, he's been using it with the open part of the glove. Into the final minute, and it's going to be Edwards, unless McKenna has got something very, very special from either hand. Oh, good right once again from Edwards. Just a little clipping shot on the jaw. 5 judges at ringside decided it wasn't good enough. That was a slip. Let's not get carried away. Edwards, in the meantime, has picked up another and very conclusive point. So 8 between them. And again, the right hand, Edwards missing with the left. Desperate times now for McKenna. Didn't step back on the command. They can resume boxing, but they must, on the command break, take a very definite step backward. And when the command stop is given, they've got to stop completely until they're told to box. Edwards doing a bit of holding. Getting a little bit tired. Yeah, quite right from Keith Brookings, the experienced English referee. Time is not on the side of the Irishman, Damien McKenna. And the first bantamweight champion in this, the first Four Nations tournament, is going to be Darren Edwards from Wales, and he knows he's done it. And he goes over graciously to the Irish corner and says, thank you very much indeed. Second round of this light middleweight final, 71 kilogram division, between, in red, representing England, the 19-year-old from the Belgrave Club in Leicester is Martin Concepcion. His opponent, a year younger, just 18 years old, the Scottish runner-up this year, Craig McEwan from Edinburgh, boxes out of the Cloviston Club. Two very contrasting styles, the taller Scot, the southpaw in blue, and the more orthodox and solid and hard-punching Concepcion, whose problem is to try to catch up with Craig McEwan, who outboxed and outdanced the vastly experienced Michael Roche, the Irish champion, who was the Irish representative in the Sydney Olympic Games. Good right hand going in there from Craig McEwan. Concepcion's problem is he's got to try to catch up with him. McEwan stabbing and moving, looking full of confidence. Well, that's a piece of, well, almost showboating here in Liverpool from Craig McEwan, who really fancies this. He was the Scottish youth champion in 1998 and 99, and won a gold medal in the 1999 Gaelic Games. Won the Scottish title at welterweight last year when he was just a 17-year-old. Well, that's another great shot by McEwan, and Concepcion is getting a bit of a boxing lesson. This, though, is Martin Concepcion's first senior tournament. Good right hand from the Englishman. Lost in the ABA semi-finals to Stephen Birch from St Helens, so he's by no means the first choice light middleweight here from England. Wonderful foot movement by Craig McEwan. And again, McEwan is walking away with this. Don't like to see that little bit of showboating and fancy dance stuff in amateur boxing. But McEwan obviously fancies this, and well, maybe even fancies himself. Very, very good second round by the Scot. Moved and danced and bounced and picked his man off with right and left, and made life very difficult for Martin Concepcion, the man across the ring from him. Just bouncing as if he were on a trampoline and changing his style and moving out of the way. And when Concepcion came in, he was able to step back and pick his man off on the retreat. Concepcion not too far away, but all the scoring punching coming from the man in blue, Craig McEwan from Scotland. Nothing at all between them at the end of the first, but what a stunning second round, the highest individual score in a round so far in this competition. So Martin Concepcion in red, the English finalist in this, the 71 kilogram, the light middleweight division, really up against it. 11-1 to his tall, lean, elegant, and off-time flashy opponent from Scotland, Craig McEwan, who romped away with the second round. 9 points to 0. Concepcion has got to try to close him down. He's got to try to catch him and ruffle his feathers. Long, long lead of the southpaw Scot, and a fast left hand to back it up. And when he has to, he can shorten the punch, but it's the sheer speed of foot that does it. Not a bad shot won by Concepcion, but he had to take one before he landed. 10 points still the gap. Jack Poitzer, the referee, the man who was awarded the Best Official Award in the Barcelona Olympics of 1992, hugely experienced. Former senior football referee in his native Northern Ireland as well. 13-2 now to the Scots. This is a great performance. How Craig McEwan would have fared against the reigning English champion, Matt Thurwood of the Fisher Club. Well, we can only speculate on. Not a bad shot by Concepcion, and it looks as if McEwan can actually take a shot as well. But a very, very elegant, almost professional style being demonstrated by McEwan. 10 points between them. And 11. Oh, lovely switch there by McEwan. He feinted with the right and held it back and then delivered it again. Concepcion getting caught all too often, but to be fair to him, he's kept the whole thing going. Well, they'll be very pleased with Craig McEwan in the Scots corner.
Have a think about it, have a rest of it. Come on, I said get close, get there and rough it up. You stand there and then you switch off. What's it all about that? That's not lying on your chest. There's not lying on your chest. Now, come on. Tell your miles now. Just before you have to do it now, you won't. You have to go reaching throwing shots for a million pounds. Just work close, work close, work close. The shot goes. When it starts to roll, you start working it. Does that make sense? Come on, that lying on your chest. Come on, Martin Concepcion. I said go once, go.
I think Kelvin Travis just said nearly everything he had to. Was a much better round for Concepcion. He picked up 2 points, but he had to concede 4, and he goes into the last round some 12 points adrift. An extraordinary second round by the teenager in blue from Scotland, Craig McEwan, has put him very much on line for a gold medal here in Liverpool in this, the 71 kilogram division, the light middleweights. Concepcion has shown terrific heart, the Englishman, but he hasn't been able to catch up with the fast-moving, fast-thinking, fast-punching Scot. Boxes very well on the retreat and snakes out that right hand and has picked up another point. We're into the last round. So following the Sydney Olympics, it was decided that the 15-point margin, which would bring immediate disqualification, will not apply. And it's now 14 to the Scots, so no matter what happens, we will go to the final bell. Well, he can step in if he has to, McEwan. There's the 15-point gap, and because it's the last round, this is a new dispensation, it won't count in terms of calling off the contest. Wasn't that much between them. Don't push to the Scot. Good right hand went in by Concepcion. A bit surprised that didn't score, but maybe he didn't land properly in the target area with sufficient force. McEwan holding his hands dangerously low, and against a more experienced opponent, that might well cost him. That was a good right hand by Concepcion. Oh, great countering by McEwan. Good finish by the Scot. Great second round by the Scot. Concepcion under pressure from round 2 on. And Kelvin Travis, I think, has to acknowledge that this is quite an exceptional youngster. A little bit precocious, but then all the best Athletes, boxers or otherwise, tend to be that little bit precocious as well. Comfortable last round, but the one that made the difference was the second round, where McEwan ran away with it rightly. So Ireland 3, England 1 in the 75-kilogram final. Good right hand by Dean Frost, and he needed that to try to close the gap, and immediately the Irishman responds. Five judges at ringside, one each from Ireland and England. Egan 4-2 ahead. And now 5. And remember, in amateur boxing, the scoring done by that oft-criticised computerized scoring system. 5 judges, and 3 of them must, within a second of other, decide that a scoring punch has been landed by the knuckle part of the glove in the target area. Egan 3 points up. Frost will have to try to close the gap if he can by the end of this round to give himself a decent chance in the second period, or the second half of this contest. Frost is not doing enough at the moment. He's not stepping in and making much of a contest of this. Egan's defense is reasonably good. Frost being perhaps a little bit too cautious. 30 seconds to go to the end of this round. Egan, well, certainly not home and dry. The 3-point margin is not a winning one, but it's a gap that Frost simply must close. Not a bad left by the Englishman, as Egan left himself exposed, but it didn't count. And Egan closing down his English opponent, holding on when he has to. Not much to enthuse about in that particular round in this magnificently appointed St. George's Hall here in Liverpool. But they'll be pleased with this teenager. He's just nicking the rounds, and that's what matters. But the overall score now is 5-2 in his favour. So a fair old bit for Dean Frost to do. And there he is, breathing a little bit on the heavy side. That was a good solid left hand by Kenneth Egan on the retreat. Nice piece of defensive boxing by the Irish champion. Another look at that, moved out of the way. And there's the Henry Willis organ, finished in 1855 and surpassed only by its opposite number in the Royal Albert Hall in London. In the 1930s, it was upgraded. It now operates with 120 stops and almost 8,000 pipes. And the first organist was one W.T. Best, who in 1855 was paid the princely stipend of £300 per annum for playing this magnificent organ. The man in red, Kenneth Egan, the reigning Irish champion, and this is his first senior year, having won the Irish junior title last year. Kenneth Egan, 3 points up, but a good piece of concerted attacking boxing from England's Dean Frost could change all that. Good right hand by Frost. That may have just picked him up a point. Egan responds immediately. And the computer scoring favouring the Irishman. His shot seemed to be the cleaner. Certainly Frost, I thought, got in with a good shot there, but it didn't register on the computer system. Short left from Egan. 6-2 now. It's becoming more and more difficult for Frost.
Break! Box!
Nice little flurry. And it was Egan who emerged from that flurry, and that was a good left hand from the Irishman. Changed tactic completely. Had been using the southpaw right, but switched very nicely and landed with a good left, and it's now going to be very, very difficult for Frost. Egan is just easing himself into a very comfortable and title-winning position. Left hand came across again from the Irishman. Frost has got to pick this up. Egan is able to switch. He starts off southpaw and then all of a sudden feints and then throws the left hand, and that's confusing his fellow southpaw Frost. Short right from the Irishman. And another decent round from Kenneth Egan. Not terribly conclusive, but just enough to extend his lead and to keep himself in front and to make the task for Dean Frost all the tougher. 4-0 that time, 3-1, 2-1, 4-0. Egan has won every single round and has opened up with 2 minutes remaining in this middleweight final, a 7-point gap. Good work on the retreat by Kenneth Egan, and Frost really trying as hard as he can, but he simply couldn't catch up with the Irishman, who changed tactic completely, didn't bother about the southpaw right and flipped the left in, and there was another good right and a right uppercut to follow, and all the good scoring boxing is coming from this man Egan. Round 4, and what a tough last couple of minutes it's going to be for Dean Frost to try to win this contest from the stylish Irishman. Kenneth Egan, he's got to come forward, and the English ABA runner-up this year is finding it very difficult against the Irish champion. Don't push down from the referee, Donald Campbell of Scotland. Egan now looking pretty confident.
Straight.
Once again, Egan changing style and changing tactic, coming across with the left hand as opposed to his normal southpaw right. Egan now content just to hold off all the rushes of Dean Frost. Don't push to Frost, a minute to go. The Irishman's going to win this.
Right. Step.
Got a little bit scrappy, a poorish first round.
Box.
Egan at his most impressive in rounds 2 and 3. Good footwork. .30 seconds to go. It's got a little bit messy. There's nothing much Frost can do. He's not really throwing enough shots. Sweeping right hand by Egan, but delivered with the open part of the glove. Low scoring round this one, but that won't bother Egan at all. He's kept the difference between the two. He's got a gap now, or a winning margin of 8 points. And he's changed his tactic to orthodox, and that really has confused Frost. So a nice switch of tactic there.
Right.
Scrappy last round, but the result that Ireland wanted, and despite all the efforts of Lance Corporal Dean Frost, it's the 19-year-old Kenneth Egan who's emerged as the inaugural Four Nations 75-kilogram champion.